Welcome to the Beezies.
I'm Abby.
I'm Brittany.
I'm Jenny.
And I'm Mackenzie.
Remember the college days when you were best friends with your roommates?
We would come home and talk about anything and everything together.
We miss this phase so much that we decided we needed this quality roommate time again.
So welcome to the Beezies. Come over and get cozy with your new favorite roommates.
Have I told you guys about the death of my Stanley Cup recently?
No. Was it murdered?
No, I mean, yeah.
By
it's
you?
Not that big of a deal. The handle fell off of my Stanley Cup, and so I can't use it anymore. So I'm back to my old dingy hydro flask.
You know what I really want to get? An Owala. Is that the brand?
Oh, I have one
Don't
of those.
you have? Yeah.
They're cute.
They're so cute. I keep seeing how Costco has a really good deal on them right now. So I might need to do that, but I don't need another water bottle. I need to go through our water bottles. We have so many.
Yeah.
Everyone. It's the most common problem. Or
Yeah.
I don't know that that's a problem.
There are a bunch of different brands that I actually want to try. Now that the Stanley is gone, I'm I wasn't that attached to it. My mom just bought it for me, so I was like, okay, I'll use it. And then now I'm like, oh, this could be my opportunity to try a couple of the other ones, the same style, but some of them have different tops, and so they're spill proof, and I am tired of spilling my water all the time.
I really want to try the Hydro Jug one. I have a Hydro Jug half-gallon water bottle.
Oh,
and
that's huge.
Yeah. But
Holy.
the tumbler that they have has one of those lids that the straw goes into it, so it's supposed to be spill proof. And there's
Yeah.
a hot pink one that's at Scheels, so
Yeah. That's the one I want to try.
it's so cute. I love it. How's everyone doing this fine Sunday morning?
Sunday morning
Or Monday if you're listening.
Monday or any other day of the week that you might be listening.
Yes. I am surprisingly very awake right now. I don't know if it's the fact that I've been up for 3 hours or my her boost is finally kicking in, but I'm feeling great.
What is her boost?
Do you know the brand Mixers?
Oh, yeah.
It's their energy one.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Their morning caffeine drink.
Yeah.
It probably has to do with the fact that you were running this morning.
That's true.
That. If I work out first thing in the morning, I am ready to go for the rest of the day.
I will say that is one of my favorite things about just working out in general in the morning, but especially this last week, I've either been going on a run or a walk outside in the morning. And you know what? The health people are right. Getting sunlight in the morning really makes a difference. And I love them for that.
You know what crazy thing I've heard from all the health people about sun though is what's it called? Is it called sunning?
Oh yeah.
Standing with your full body in the sun, no barrier, so not through a window.
Your vision to the sun.
Yes. Your bare parts.
You know,
it recharges your vision.
Yeah.
Crystals in the moon.
I know a couple that was doing that for a while, and they said it was really great.
A couple they did it together, or they were just decided to do it.
They're married and they would go out every morning and lay on their trampolines.
This is our just new activity.
They said they really felt a difference. So I don't know if they're still doing it. It's not necessarily something I'm just gonna text them and be like, "How's your sunning doing?"
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine? I'm terrified of sunburns though. Have you ever had have you ever had sunburned nipples?
Yep. When I went to a tanning bed for the first time a couple years ago, after a very long time, I got in fully naked, obviously. My boobs were so burned.
Yes.
It hurt so bad.
You never realize the drama of skin that has never seen the sun all of a sudden being exposed.
Yeah.
wild and so itchy and so uncomfortable. And that's what I'm afraid would happen in the other instance.
It's honestly so funny.
Sorry, that is not where I meant to take any of that conversation.
That's okay. But yeah, I have been running. I was just so inspired by Jenny and Kenzie. And I think I mentioned it last episode, or maybe just was telling you guys, but I decided that I do want to do the Gilbert Half Marathon, which is in November. So it's like 7 months
Did
away.
you sign? Is it open for people to sign up?
It is. I haven't done it yet. The registration, the price goes up on August 31st. So
Okay, you've got time.
yeah, I'm just going to make sure to do it before then. But yeah, I'm excited. And it's nice to like be working towards something. It's the weekend before Thanksgiving also. So I'm trying to convince my sister to do it with me. So we'll see.
Nice.
But yeah,
That's exciting.
if you or Jenny want to do it too. But also you will have just done a marathon. So
Yeah.
You're
understandable
doing
if
a
you want to
full
break.
marathon, right, Kenzie?
Me? Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm doing the New York City.
Oh, that's so
exciting.
exciting that you got in. I'm so happy for you.
Have you seen stuff about the like it's like some specific medal you get when you do the like 6 most popular marathons. It's
Yeah,
like
I saw that today.
Boston.
Or this week.
Yeah. Boston, London, New York, and then like 3 other ones in different countries. But
I will never be able to do Boston. You have to qualify for that one.
that's so wild.
Oh, I thought you had to qualify for all 6 of those.
Not New York.
Oh, never mind. I'm sorry. I take back my congratulations.
Well, it is still really hard to get into though.
It is. I did have to apply, and that's why Jenny didn't get in. They didn't accept her application.
But, like, what do you need in order to get into Boston? Like, do they kind of take it from a pool? Like, you have, or...
So you have to
do
run
they do
in a
it?
qualifying race, which, by the way, one of the qualifying races is in Utah, and it's down the... Is it Big Cottonwood Canyon? Is that what it's called?
Yes. I
maybe.
think
And-
so.
It is all downhill.
Oh.
Like,
Oh.
people PR in that race all the time,
Yeah.
but it's one of the Boston qualifying. I think you have to run
Wait, that's
A marathon
so
in-
funny.
something like 3 hours and 30 minutes.
Okay, that is so confusing because
pretty
one
fast.
of the videos I saw this last week, because the Boston Marathon was recently, recently, and one of the videos I saw, this girl was like, "It's my first marathon," and it was Boston. So
What?
I know. So I was like, I don't understand because I thought you had to qualify too. So I was like, literally, how are you doing this? I have really been on marathon TikTok. I saw this one of these 2 people who were running together, and one of them was blind. And so the other guy was like his guide, and they were just like holding a little like string thing to keep them together, basically like a resistance band. And I like teared up watching it. I was like, that is so awesome. Like,
That's so cool.
I know. I was emotional.
Okay, yeah. So for women ages 18 to 34, it's a 3:30 marathon. But for men, it's a 3-hour marathon.
Wow.
Wild.
That's so fast. How, what was your time for your half marathon?
It depends on who you ask. Anywhere between 2 hours and 32 minutes and 2 hours and 38 minutes.
Oh.
What do you mean it depends on who you ask?
Because the way that they like map the course, like it's based on like the way they map it versus like our watches and stuff. Because like they map it a certain way. So if you like take a wide turn or something, that's like
Yeah.
it's different. if that
Got
makes
it.
sense.
No, that does make
Like
sense.
for the New York Marathon, apparently there's like a blue line, and they say stay as close to the blue line, so you'll match up to whatever the race is.
That makes
So
sense.
I hit 13.1 miles, about half a mile before the finish line.
Oh,
Jenny and I were
interesting.
pissed. We were like, "What the hell is going on?" Like, I like I almost stopped and I was like, we went the wrong way or something. Like,
Oh my gosh.
this is crazy.
That's actually wild.
Interesting.
I wonder if it
Yeah.
ever happens where people like go through the finish line then and it like their watch or something hasn't finished a mile yet, or like the whole thing yet.
Yeah,
Like there's gotta be.
both of my 10Ks said that I hadn't hit a 10K yet.
That's crazy. That'd be so
So
frustrating.
So it's really based on like the exact way that they map out the course.
Yeah.
Dang.
Fascinating.
That
I
was so
know. It
frustrating.
was the first time I learned that like the track you go around and like it's longer on the outside versus the inside. Like when I was young
Yeah.
and doing track and field for the first time, and I was like, why are they staggering? That's weird. The first time I learned that was like mind blowing. I was just
Yeah.
like, there's no way.
You're like,
It was,
that doesn't
I don't
make
know,
sense.
interesting. I know.
That's crazy. It's so fun that we're all in this era of like loving things that were so boring as a kid. Like I hated running as a
yeah.
kid. I hated reading as a kid. And now I'm like, those are the two things I look forward to in life.
I know. Even like I thought working out was boring and I only wanted to do sports. Like I only wanted to do physical activity if I was doing some sort of athletics that was
Yeah.
like kept my mind busy, because I
Totally.
hated like any sort of workout class or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things reading absolutely trying to get me to read a book in school was like trying to pull out, I don't know, why did I think of the reference of pulling out teeth, but
Well, that's a
That's
common
that's
phrase.
how it feels. Okay, I was like,
Yeah.
is that morbid? I don't know if that
She's
was
like,
right.
I'm having an image of my teeth being
being
extracted
yanked.
one by one.
No, I can't tell you though how many times I vividly have memories of I would have a quiz that day on the book. And so while I was getting ready, I would have Spark Notes doing like I would do the text to read and just have it reading to me while I was getting ready for the day so that I
Yeah.
felt even slightly prepared for
Yeah.
said quiz about the book. And every time
Or,
I'd
like,
have the best intentions of actually reading, and then halfway through I'm like, I got a Spark Notes list.
Yes. I had to do like book reports starting in like 4th grade, and I would pick a book that was turned into a movie. We could pick any book we wanted as long as we read it. So I'd watch the movie and then I'd write a book report about it. And that was my go-to like every single time.
Yeah.
The amount of times somebody did freaking Bridge to Terabithia that year, I'm like, I could write a book report even just listening to all the 20 other kids,
Literally.
because we had to present them in front of the class too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it never. Thank goodness for my teachers in high school who like read, like once I was a sophomore, they started reading the material in class, and then we would go home and do the like work. And I was like, oh, I'm actually reading The Great Gatsby. Like, it was actually fun.
You're like, wait,
Turns
reading
out
is
I was just,
fun.
yeah. Turns out I think I was just reading the wrong kind of books, because
You needed
if
spicy
you get
books.
me, I needed some romance as a 16-year-old.
Can
Yeah.
you imagine reading the books we do now as a 16-year-old? Like, put yourself legitimately back into that mindset of like, one, just being younger, but also like more religious and all of that. Like, I would have been shocked at
Yeah.
what I read now.
Oh, I would have, like, I went to the bishop about like a dirty fanfic I read when I was 14.
Shut up.
Like, yeah.
I love
So-
it. I love it.
That is iconic.
I vividly remember, and I'm so exposing myself for this right now. I loved Eclipse as the book. That was like my favorite book out of all of them, because there was like the most making out in that book. And I would go back and reread those scenes. I just loved it. And even like I started reading like young adult supernatural books, like vampire books and stuff like that as well in high school. And I would stay up till like 3 in the morning, which like was so unheard of from me, but I'm like addicted to reading. I can't put it down.
Yeah.
And my little 14-year-old heart just ate up like even just a little kiss in the book. I was just like, wow, this is amazing.
Like their lips touched.
I know. I was like, whoa.
That is so funny.
Yeah.
What would be fun, I think, is going through like some of the most common book tropes and just being like, ooh, love that, hate that. This is a great book for that.
I love it.
Let's do it.
Yep. But it has to be romance book tropes or like
Yes.
even in fiction is fine. I just recognize that I don't read anything else.
Yeah.
You read fantasy, at least, Brittany.
But it's fantasy romance, let's be honest.
But it's fantasy romance.
They're like, if there's not romance, I'm not reading it. So
Yeah.
with
exactly.
the exception of Harry Potter. But you know, there's a little bit of romance there, you know?
Yeah. I'm like reading my first nonfiction book right now, and it's taken me 3 weeks to read 200 pages. I'm like, I'm not cut out for this life. It's ridiculous.
Wait, which book?
But it's called Hold Me Tight. It's like a book for therapy. And it's about it's like 7 conversations for like a deep emotional relationship.
Did
and
Erin post that on her story?
She did.
I screenshotted it because I want to read it.
There's like a therapist at the office I go to that is like Hold Me Tight trained, and so she like holds these weekend retreats as well. Not weekend. Cute. Well, yeah, it's like a class that couples can take on the weekend. That is like about the 7 conversations to like heal your relationship and everything like that. And so everybody at the office is like also like loves the book. My therapist keeps recommending it to me, like everything like that. So it's a good one, but it's heavy on the material. Yeah. And so you just like, you get through a chapter and you're like, I'm tired.
No, totally. Yeah. Anytime I'm reading a nonfiction, which is not often, I can do maybe half a chapter to a chapter at a time. And like, sometimes I'll even take a couple days break and be like, okay, that's enough. Because it's a lot. So
when the chapters are 40 pages.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yay.
Okay.
Anyways,
I pulled up the list of the most common tropes. So first, the classic enemies to lovers. What are your feelings? Do we love? Do we hate? I love so much.
I hate.
What?
I do love, like, I still will read.
No,
it's
you
great.
said you hate it.
But I am like it's not my favorite because I just don't get the, like, angry passion as much. And, like, the attraction and the draw there. And I'm just, like, in a way, I'm like, you guys aren't fooling yourselves. You know you like him. Stop saying you hate him. Like, I don't know. But some of my favorite books are enemies to lovers still.
I will say some of my favorite enemies to lovers, it's typically that one of the people is like, it's usually like also a he fell first kind of thing. And so like,
I love a he fell first.
Yeah, they're so good. And so it's like that combination of like, they're putting out this face that they are enemies, but really he's like, oh no, I'm actually in love with you already. So I still love enemies to lovers, even when it's like a genuine enemies to lovers too.
Yeah, that is very,
Do you guys have
very true.
any books that are your favorite enemies to lovers?
So many. Literally, like almost all of the fantasy romance ones. A lot of them are that. So like Fourth Wing, that's the main trope. Crescent City that I just read is like an enemies to lover. Also Forced Proximity, which it was so good. So those are some of my favorites. But it's just, I don't know. It also usually, like, I feel like enemies to lovers mixes a lot with like grumpy to sunshine also.
Yeah,
Which
totally.
I also love.
Yeah. And especially because the grumpy, again, is almost always like kind of a he fell first. Like, I'm grumpy, but I also like have this secret sauce. I've always had
They're
this
always
soft
a
spot for
softie.
you. Yes.
Yeah. What
I
about you
think for
guys?
enemies to lovers, one of my favorites is the Unhoneymooners because it felt like it made sense. And so I was like, okay, I believed it in that situation a lot more. And then I think Love Theoretically was enemies to lovers.
Yeah.
And
Oh, never mind. Wait. No. I'm thinking of the Love Hypothesis. Never mind.
yes,
That one.
that's true. There's 3 of them. And that is probably one of my favorite Grumpy Sunshine ones. And fake dating. I love a fake dating. We'll get to that one, I guess. But Love Theoretically is the 3rd book in that series. And
That's enemies to lovers.
that's enemies to lovers, I think. They're all, I think they're all kind of in that realm.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that one I also, again, was like, it's believable. Like, I don't feel like it was forced. I don't feel like, I hate that it's such a quick turnaround a lot of times. It's like, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. Oh, wait, I love you.
I'm actually
it's like,
obsessed
where
with you.
is the easing them into this and like,
One thing, though, that I feel like often leads to that is a lot of the times, enemies to lovers, there is so much sexual tension
yes.
that I feel like that's why it can be such a like switch, is that the whole time they're enemies, it's like they're also like, it's just so much tension.
Yeah.
And so then once they finally give in, it's
That's
like,
true.
here we go. Like, let's do this
That's
thing.
true. I do love the tension, for sure.
This it kind of fits into that. There's a book. It's like set in like the Regency era, and it's called To Have and to Hoax, and it's 2 people that are married but they're estranged, and so they hate each other, but then they kind of like fall back into love and stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've read only
I love
one
those.
book that is like a marriage, like a, I don't know what that trope is necessarily called, but yeah, it's like when they're married and then the like relationship has fizzled out and then they get, they fall in love again. And I didn't actually like it that much. But I don't think it was like quite well, like it just wasn't realistic, I guess. I don't know. But yeah. Enemies to Lovers is a good one. Just
Abby,
not my favorite.
you mentioned fake relationship. What's your favorite fake relationship one? Or do you like it also?
I do really like
Okay,
it.
that's what
I
I thought
think
you said. I
it's
couldn't
so
remember.
fun when you have 2 people that are like playing the part, and like I don't even know how to describe it. But like you're hiding your feelings, but you're also trying to like give into them a little bit, and so you're trying to gauge where the other person is at before, like, I don't know, I think there's just so much to it that has a lot of interesting like internal dialogue within like the possibilities of that. And there's so many good fake dating ones. The first one I ever read was The Love Hypothesis.
Yeah.
And I do love that. Honestly, I don't know if I've not liked any of the fake dating books that I've ever read.
Have you read it's not the Soulmate Equation. It's
Yes.
the one before that.
No, the Soulmate Equation and then the True Love Experiment is the second one.
Okay, Soulmate Equation with Dr. Pena.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was another one. I loved it. And then what's the other one? There was a short. Hang on. I'm sorry. I'm going through my list right now.
I was going to say, we all have our
ones.
Goodreads up and are like reading through them.
Trying to gauge.
Fake relationship is hard for me sometimes. Like, I have mixed feelings on it. Because
Really?
sometimes it's so fun But if I ever start to think about like, because I think it, with those, usually someone falls first, and I'm always just so scared that it's not gonna work out, and that gives me like trauma from actual dating. Not that I was ever in a fake relationship, but it's like it just stresses me out sometimes. Like I'm like, obviously this is gonna end up good and they're gonna love each other, but for a second there, I'm always like, it just looks a little dicey.
Yes. Okay, I'm gonna share with you guys my favorite fake dating relationship real quick.
Yes.
And it's this book. I think I've talked about it before. It's called Love Light Farms. And it's my favorite because it is a friends to lover. My favorite ones are, in general, friends to lovers fake dating, because it's like when two friends are like so in love with each other, but they're scared to like admit it because they don't want to deal with the consequences, but they get this opportunity to like fake date and experiment with like their feelings that have been there for a long time. That's my favorite. That is my favorite. And so that was what Love Light Farms was, and that is what the cheat sheet was. And those two remain in my brain forever.
Forever.
So
I need to read so many of these.
They're good. They're good ones. Love Light Farms you should read for Christmas time because it's like a Christmas theme.
Oh, fun.
It's like a Christmas tree farm vibe. So this holiday season, I'll make sure you read that.
My goal is this summer is to just read a bunch of like those fun, like little romance ones. Because I just started the Throne of Glass series, which is the last series of this author that I haven't read yet, but it's 8 books. So I'm like, it's going to take a minute.
Yeah.
So once I finish that, I want to, which I'm hoping to finish that before we go to Hawaii. Because otherwise the last couple books are like, the last book I think is legitimately 1,000 pages. And I'm like, I don't want to bring that with me.
Oh my gosh, no.
My goal is to finish that before I go. We'll see if it actually happens.
There is something about summer romances that like fills my girly heart so much. Like, I don't know.
I just read Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez.
Ooh,
I've heard great things about her.
She's a great writer.
The thing I like about her, some of the dialogue is like cringe to me.
Yeah.
But that's just romance. But
yeah.
She writes like about like she creates these male characters that are just like golden retriever, like good
I love
guys.
Yeah.
And that's why I love reading her books. She also wrote Yours Truly. And in Just for the Summer, the boy, his mom is going to jail, and so he's going to be taking custody of his 3 younger siblings and stuff. Just like good, like selfless guys.
Yes. We love a female written man.
Yeah. Also
So
a female written man. This past week I read Good Material by Dolly Alderton. She's the one who wrote Everything I Know About Love.
Yes.
If you guys,
I've heard of it. I haven't read it, but I've heard of it.
She does such a good job. It's a comedy, and this was like the first romantic comedy that like I was genuinely laughing out loud.
Yeah, it wasn't like cringy.
Right. And it's like very like British humor. Like it kind of like the flow kind of reminds me of like the movie About Time, how there's like this dry, quick, witty humor, but then there's also this like really deep message. Yeah, I love that book. That one I rated 4 stars because I'm like, that's amazing.
Wow.
So yeah, women keep writing
Yes.
male characters.
Yes.
We
My
love
hope
it.
is that one day maybe men will just get the memo that they need to read romance books and learn how to be a man from a woman. Like, you want to know what's going on in a woman's mind, read a book.
Well, and this book, this guy, he's like really emotionally immature and stuff, but like it's funny because it's like a comedy. So I don't know.
I love it. Speaking of summer romances, I feel like a common trope from a lot of summer romance books is second chance romance. And like dual
Yes.
timelines and stuff like that. I've read so many summer books like that, and actually they fill my soul. I love them so much. But what are your guys' thoughts about those?
Yeah, go ahead.
That's what what's that Colleen Hoover book? It ends with us. It
Yeah.
starts with us.
Both.
That's like a dual timeline.
Oh,
right?
is it?
I
actually have yet to read that one.
It ends with us. Wait, now I can't
Yeah,
remember.
because she's going back to her boyfriend in high school. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a dual timeline, so it goes back. And then I think it starts with us is dual perspective.
Gotcha.
I
Ooh, I
think.
like also dual perspective.
I love dual perspective because, like you were saying, it's so fun when these guys are just like golden retrievers, sweet little boys. But when you get to see from their point of view too, like what's really going on, like one of my favorite things in oh shoot, I can't remember which one it is. I think it's in it's one of the Akatar books, but the first three are all in the perspective of the girl, like first person. But there's one chapter from the perspective of the main guy. And so you get to see like what he's been feeling the whole time finally. And that was one where it was like he was hiding how he truly felt the whole time. And so then you finally get to see that he's just been so in love with her the whole time. And everything he's
love
done.
that.
Yes. And everything he's done for literal years has been to like earn her basically and like be worthy of her. And it's like, oh. And it's also
that's
so great
so
because he's like
sweet.
the bad. Sorry for anyone listening who hasn't read the books, but whatever. He's like the bad villain in the first one. And so then you get to see the other side of it. And you're like, oh, you're actually the best man in the world.
Yeah.
In the book I was just talking about, Good Material, it's the same thing. It's from the boy's perspective, and then like the last chapter is from the girl's perspective. This one is this couple broke up. The girl broke up with the boy, so it's about this boy who's like, you know, going crazy after a breakup, and like he can't stop thinking about her and stuff, and like he's 35 and he starts dating this 23-year-old and stuff, and like anyways, and the last chapter you like find out from her perspective why she broke up with him, and that's when it gets like really deep. And she's like, I realize like I don't want to be married, I don't want to have kids, like I kind of just want to be alone, and I don't feel lonely being alone. And but yeah, it's great.
Interesting. I like absolutely love dual perspective, but the one bone I have to pick with it that sometimes gets in the way is like I can sometimes handle a like miscommunication trope. Like I really don't like when that is the conflict. However, when it's dual perspective, it's worse. When it's like one perspective, I'm like, I can understand how this person doesn't know because I'm only seeing things through like one point of view.
Yeah.
But when I am listening to both narrators have the same discourse about each other and then not sharing it,
It's so
I
frustrating.
get so frustrated.
They're just like going in circles.
Yes, like
Miscommunication is my least favorite trope.
yes. That's like
100%.
it's just so unrealistic. I mean, it is realistic because there are a lot of people that are scared, and like I get it. I get where everything is going. However, I'm just like talk to each other. Like just say what you want to say, and if it doesn't work out, at least you know, like stop being afraid.
No, literally.
And that's just my mantra in life now, but I'm just like, stop it.
Yeah.
And I can't handle being an observer who sees the full picture. Like I almost want to be kept in the dark like the characters are, so that I can have that same experience and not just be like I'm an all-knowing person who just needs you to like
finally talk.
Yes.
That's how it was in Happy Place. I don't think that was a dual perspective, but it was the same kind of thing where I was just like, oh, you just need to freaking talk. Like, you both love each other still. Just work through your freaking issues.
Yeah, seriously.
I'm trying to go through these and see ones that we haven't necessarily talked about. This trope isn't on this list, but I'm curious if you've read anything with it. the like situationship trope. So not like full relationship. I have only read it in Call It What You Want. I don't know if either of you've read that, but the reason I hope this is a newer trope to enter is because I feel like it's very realistic for how like romances are in real life now.
Yeah.
Just because it's like everyone has like a situationship at some point in their life, and it's so frustrating. So
Yeah. I think like I do love the like messiness that a situationship kind of brings, because things really aren't like concrete and you're kind of just like, oh, hang on.
okay, 36. Welcome back.
Okay. I was like, whoa, what just happened?
Yeah, we should be good. I wrote down the time. So if you want to just start with what you were just saying again, because that'll be an easy way to like cut into it.
Yes. So I love the messiness that situationships like bring, because it just feels a little realistic about somebody who's trying to navigate like feelings and first time for like a lot of these feelings, but like not sure how to make things happen. Like it just feels very relatable. I really don't like when it is then become into this kind of like almost fairy tale like fantastical ending where it's like we've been going back and forth, or we're in the situationship and all of a sudden I realized I can't live my life without you, like will you marry me?
Yeah.
Or it just goes so over the top, and I'm like, the books I appreciate the most in this area is like, we spent the whole time trying to figure out if I even like you. Now I know I love you. I'm just going to tell you, and then we're going to be together. We don't need to get married right away. We don't need to whatever. Like it feels so much, so extra, and a little unrealistic.
Is icebreaker kind of a situationship?
Yeah, kind of. Although, like, I feel like they're...
Because she
They
never
start to
wanted
be-
to like DTR.
I feel like that's the thing is like if they don't like if someone, it's usually just one person, doesn't want to make it official, that's what makes it like the situationship trope.
Yeah. I think Icebreaker was that way for probably a third of the book. And then they got to a point where we're like, we're dating now. And then it kind of went into a lot of other relationship things.
Yeah.
So, like, and that's the thing is most of them start out as like situationships. And I
By
can
the way,
appreciate that.
If you are someone that's like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready for a relationship. I'm so scared of being in a relationship. Blah, 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 blah. Like, no, you're not. You're just being difficult and yeah, you're fine.
Yeah.
Unless you actually have like severe trauma or whatever. Like, I don't
Just
know.
try the relationship.
Like a lot of the times the only way people are going to learn if they even like how to be in a relationship and heal like a lot of their things, you have to be in a relationship to do that, because otherwise it doesn't really work.
Also,
I don't know.
newsflash, you can break up. You're allowed.
Did you know
If
that?
you end up being in a relationship you don't like, break up. Crazy, I know. Okay. Have you guys read any? I'm trying to find some other good ones on this list. Okay, what about like an opposites attract? I don't have any that come to mind.
I don't know.
I don't know if I would. Well,
Oh,
I
well,
think I would
okay,
like
kind
it.
of. There was one book I read. I think Abby Jimenez wrote this book. I think it's. Wait, is yours truly is the second book, right? And it's Part of Your World is the first one. Did you read that, Kenzie?
I haven't read that. I'm reading the playlist one.
Ooh, that's
So
such
don't
a
if
good
that's
one.
the one, don't spoil it.
It's not that one. Did you read no. What's the one before the playlist?
I don't even know what you're talking
The
about.
playlist is also the second book.
It's Part of Your World, right?
I think it's I need just let me
Where
look up
she's
on my
dating
list.
a guy that's like 10 years younger than her.
Yes, kind of that one. Okay, so Part of Your World is book number 1 to Yours Truly. Then The Friend Zone is book number 1 to Happy Ever After playlist. So, okay. I've read all those books. I love them. I haven't read Yours Truly yet. That's next on my list. Anyways, let's go back. Part of Your World. I don't know if it's like classified as opposites attract, but I feel like it's opposites attract because it is small town, big city, like rich, like
Yeah. I would say that's
not rich,
opposites.
but legacy. What's the phrase?
Like
Kinda
old money?
Old money?
Nepotism. No,
Oh.
it's like her family is like these big medical surgeon prodigies, and she like works at a hospital. She went to medical school, all this stuff, and like so she's kind of like in the birthright to like also be a top surgeon type person, you know. And then he's like small town farm guy, like, you know, but he's also young. She's older, so there's a lot more tropes than that. But I liked that one, and I thought it was cute, and it like, I don't know. I think that's a fun one to play around with and just see when one person is in a certain life that not necessarily they don't like, but like they're taken out of that world by an opposite person and being like, wait a second, there is so much like joy in something that I never even thought was possible for me. Like, I think that's kind of beautiful.
Totally. Yeah. It's kind of the same with like fish out of water kind of thing. Like they're in a different world than they're used to. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah. I also love I'm sorry, my brain is going so blank right now. Okay, can I talk about some authors really quickly? Just certain authors.
Yeah.
I feel like, and I'm talking about 2 authors in this situation because I think I notice a pattern in their writing and their characters so much. You guys know Christina Lauren, right?
Yeah.
I actually don't.
I feel like she has the tendency.
Well, it's 2 girls. It's 2 people.
Yes, I'm sorry. I will say she, but I mean like both of them. I feel like they have the tendency to write male characters that are like so head over heels in love with their opposite.
Yeah.
And it just like, it takes so little for them to be like,
In love.
I am just like, my whole world is for you. You're amazing. Like everything like that. I noticed this pattern.
Do you
about
feel
this
like it
author.
just seems like to a degree unrealistic?
Sometimes, yeah.
I could see that.
But it's still fun. Like, it's still fun to read something where like a male character is so obsessed with someone and like, you know, thinks the world of her. Like, I think that's sweet, but I definitely couldn't do it. Like, I read, I think 3 back-to-back one time, and I was just like, they're all the same.
It's all the
Like,
same
they're
thing.
all the same characters.
That's hard. What's the other author?
Tessa Bailey was somebody that I read a lot of books from at the very beginning. And very quickly, I realized how sex obsessed these men are that she writes as well.
What does she What did she write?
So she wrote It Happened One Summer, Hook, Line, Sinker. Yeah. Fix Her Up was another one I read. I'm trying to go through my list real quick.
Who wrote the Twisted series?
That's Anna Huang.
Yeah. She deserves jail time.
Oh.
In what way?
Just if you read the books, you know, you know.
Yeah. But I still love it. I think the new series that she's been coming out with is like very interesting. The Kings of Sin series. I don't know if I would necessarily say it's like top-notch best writing ever, but in terms of like billionaire romances, I find that fascinating, and I like the world that she creates. Like this high society world in like New York, DC, that all of the books are interconnected. And I just find that interesting as somebody who has never been a part of a world like that.
Oh, totally. I love when there's like different either books by the same author or different series that are like intertwined in a different way. Like it's just so fun to have like Sarah J. Maas, for example, her 3 series are all like a part of a multiverse now. Like her latest book like confirmed that. And it's just so fun because it's like these characters that you love have like a different relation to each other, or
Yeah.
I can't remember which books it was, but there were 2 books by oh my gosh, why am I forgetting her name? It's like the most common. Abby, you hate her. Oh, Colleen
What?
Hoover.
Like, who do I
There's
hate?
2 of
I just
her
haven't read a book
books.
from her.
Yeah, there's 2 of her books that the characters like overlap, or like one of the, I think it's the characters from Ugly Love are in one of the books, and it's just so fun when it's like, oh, I know them.
Yeah.
So speaking of Colleen Hoover, so a lot of people that like have gotten into like romance novels in like 2020, like I started with Colleen Hoover.
Same.
Like that's kind of like the gateway.
Totally.
But now people are like, oh my gosh, like she is a terrible writer. For you, what like makes a writer good? Because for me, like if someone says like, oh, a book is well written, like I guess I take it more in like the literal sense. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's grammatically correct. Like
Yeah.
I read it and it made sense to me. Like they wrote it well. Like you made a book. Good job. You wrote it well.
Same. I'm so easy to please. The only book that I have read that I was like, oh, that was like not written super well is actually Call It What You Want. It's this author's first book though. But the reason I say that is there was like 3 or 4 times in that book that there were literal like grammatical errors, in the sense of like, I don't care about your punctuation. I don't know where a comma is supposed to be. There would be like a word that was either missing and it totally changed like the context, or she would be referencing a specific person. Like there was one scene where they literally like teleported. It said that they were in her room, and then like a paragraph later it referenced his nightstand in his own room or something like that. So it was like, those are the type of things where I'm like, if there is literal like plot holes that are like so obvious, like I don't care if it's like, oh, that doesn't fully make sense. It's like, oh no, you made them teleport and they're not magical beings. That's where I'm like, okay, maybe you're not the best author because of that. But also with her, I'm like, this is your first book ever. Like, let's give you a pass kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the only thing that I personally look for in like a good written book would be, like you both have kind of mentioned, like different dialogues. Like if the dialogue is kind of cheesy, that can kind of bug me sometimes. Like I'm like, just read it out loud and be like, would I say that?
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's why I really like the Dolly book, Good Material, is because it was like marketed as a comedy.
Yeah.
Like even though there definitely were some cheesy lines, it's like, oh, if you just like change your framework and see it as a comedy, then it's like hilarious.
No, it's totally.
I think that's what I need to do with other books.
Yeah.
It's like,
Maybe.
just pretend it's a comedy.
I will say though, a lot of the hate for Colleen Hoover is, I don't think it's about her like writing, like grammar, dialogue, all of that. What I've seen is like she basically just puts every single character through like big trauma, or there's like
Yeah.
sexual assault and like different things where it's like, oh, maybe we should get like a content warning on this. Like that was a little
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
I don't know. I will say
Yeah,
her books are just so catchy. And so that's why it's hard, is like it's an easy place to start to get you into reading.
Totally.
So
And I think that makes a lot of sense because a lot of people need something like really easy at first.
yeah.
That just feels fun and doesn't feel like too complex or hard to understand. And
They're
if
also
that doesn't
all
feel like,
short.
who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they're all like 300 pages, which is so much easier to digest. Like even
Yeah.
a lot of other authors I know, like Emily Henry, for example, most of her books are like 400-ish, which it's only a 100-page difference, but like it does make a difference if you're not into reading already.
Yeah. I will admit I don't know much of a difference between good writing and bad writing because my judgment for whether or not I like a book is solely just how much did it entertain me and like how fast did it grab my attention. Right. Like if I'm spending a week trying to get through the first like 50 pages, I'm like, oh, okay, this probably isn't the best book, like for me at least. But there's some that it's like I read 200 pages in the first night and I'm like, holy crap, I am obsessed with this.
I always hate starting a book. Like,
Yeah.
it takes me a second to get into it. And the good thing about the Happy Ever After playlist is that it kind of jumps into it right away.
Yeah.
So I'm like kind of hooked.
Well, and that's the thing. That's why I'm surprised you're reading that first instead of the first book, which they do work really well. And it is interesting because I read from this author that she wrote the Happy Ever After playlist first and then was like, no, I want to write a prequel and release that before this book.
Is this part of Your World or Friend Zone?
Friend Zone.
Oh, okay.
And
I don't want to read Part of Your World. I don't know. The age gap thing is not interesting to me.
Honestly, it doesn't really play much, I feel like, into the story. Like, it's there, but it's not, like, that significant, at least that I remember. But I could be wrong about that. What was I saying before? Interesting books, good writing. Okay, yeah. So I truly feel like I cannot tell a difference between good writing and bad writing, and that's why I get so scared giving people recommendations because a lot of people, I will say, read this book and they'll come back at me and be like, I can't stand the way it's written. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, it's like, I'm entertained. I don't care how it's written.
So that's how my mom was with Happy Place, because I loved Happy Place at first. When I the only thing I was like annoyed about was the miscommunication. But then I recommended it to my mom and she's like, her writing is so frustrating. And I was like,
What? Yeah.
What do you mean? But I just need to be
I know for me,
entertained.
I'm like, take it back to the basics. Like when you're in first grade learning how to write like a complete sentence, it's like start your sentences with a capital letter, end with punctuation, make sure there's a subject and a predicate. I'm like, oh my God, all these authors are so good at doing those things. Like
exactly.
they're great writers.
Yeah.
They've
Good
got the
writing.
basics. Yeah.
Well, and I know, like, Jenny has mentioned how she is more picky about authors with more of like the specifics of it, but it makes sense because she literally was an English major, and so she studied this way more than us, whereas like I'm like, I haven't studied like or known how to write properly in almost 10 years. Like that's not my focus. I just want to be entertained.
I need to read at like a 7th grade level, please.
Literally.
But I do notice a difference. Like, I think the books, like I can tell when a book is really well written when I feel like they are showing me the story instead of like telling me the story.
Yes.
Like being a little bit more descriptive, but in a way that I can follow along well.
Yep.
Not like I'm confused or poetry where I have to reread it 5 times. but like I don't feel it's like a he said this and then she did this and then he said this and then blah blah and it goes back and forth. It's like it jumps around so fast.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I kind of want to be like drawn into the scene, drawn into the emotions. And that is like more of the writing that I feel like I respond to.
I love that you brought that up because that's something when I did my little creative writing class, that was the first thing that we like learned about was show, don't tell. And this last book that I was reading, it's the third in the Crescent City series. But there was multiple times in the book that I was like, I feel like the author is just telling me what I'm supposed to feel, which I was like, this is so interesting because she is like a very like well-loved author and she's so talented. And so I'm like, I want to talk to some people who've read the book and been like, do you feel the same way? Because like there were multiple times when there was so much fluff where I was like, okay, I don't know that we needed that whole thing. But then it would be like, the main girl would be thinking like, oh, he's just frustrated because he has XYZ trauma around this. And I'm like, okay, why don't you just show me that he has the trauma instead of telling me that he has the trauma? And so it's just interesting when you see stuff like that in authors that are really, really good or really well loved. So I've been thinking about that lately.
One other thing that I want to know your guys' thoughts on, because I am passionate about this in a way. Not really, but like I've had many conversations with myself about how much I am frustrated by this.
Yeah.
Usually in a book, towards the end, kind of right before the climax, there is a chapter that is like one character spends the entire chapter having dialogue in their head about how they are coming to the realization that like, wait a second, I can be with this person. I don't have to have this hold me back. I don't, and it's like one to two chapters long of somebody just realizing that like, yes, I'm serious about this and I'm in love with this person. And I just can't stand those chapters because I feel like I spend the entire book like reading that and seeing that play out, that it's almost just like so repetitive.
Yeah.
That I'm like, I just want to get to the part where you tell her, like, we already know that you are falling in love. I can see it, dude. You don't need to write an entire chapter about this.
That's like the best explanation of show, don't tell. You have a chapter telling you this is how I feel, whereas like you said, I've already had the whole book showing me this is how you feel. So it's not necessary, like it could be a page instead kind of a thing. So yeah.
One of the books I recently read, I was just telling Andrew, I can't remember which book it was specifically, but it was that chapter that was just like, oh my gosh, like just get on to the point where you can tell her. And I don't know, it's almost like trying to build this tension that is already there, so it just feels so excessive.
Yeah.
And I don't respond to it well.
I agree.
In the same way that I don't respond well to like second act breakups. I just
those
like,
are hard.
We don't need to break up over a dumb little thing just because you're not sure. Like, again, it's not a marriage proposal. You can just be dating and not be so worried about like, wait a second, I can't do this because I'm like of my past or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. My last question for you guys is, especially now that we're like going into summer, what book are you so excited to read coming up, to give a good recommendation? I can start to give you guys a minute to think.
Give me a minute.
This week, actually, Emily Henry's next book, Funny Story, comes out.
That's what I was going to say. I wanted to read it.
Okay, I'm so excited. We've talked about this so many times. We should like actually do a book club though, because I've been thinking lately about how just doing a book club would be so fun. But I think it'd be fun if we were like, okay, the second episode in May or something is going to be a book club episode, and we're going to talk about this book specifically. That way people have time to read it if they want to.
Yeah.
So that could be a fun book to do it for?
There is a lot of like books from series that I've read. The next book in the series is like coming out this summer.
Yeah.
And so I am just like so excited for those. And one of them is the next book in the King of Sin series that I will be reading. Sorry, Kenzie. And that one comes out like end of this month. I'm so excited for Emily Henry's. The other, I can't remember the author's name, which makes me feel really stupid because no, never mind. I can't remember. I was telling you guys recently about the hockey series that I was reading, and the next book comes out. Like, I don't know. My point is, there's so much I'm looking forward to that it makes me really excited, like, for all of these ones. So those are going to be my next ones. Anyways, that wasn't interesting. I'm sorry.
No, I love it. I just think it's fun to give like ideas for books. So
Yes. Oh, also, I will say, after I watch the next new season of Bridgerton next month, I am excited to read Eloise's book because I read books 1, 2, and 3. No, 1, 2, 3, 4 because I read. I'm so sorry. Okay, Daphne, Antony, Benedict, and then I prepped for Poland.
okay.
So I read those 4 books end of last year, and then I stopped because I was like, okay, that's a lot of Bridgerton. I need to be done. So I'm going to watch the season, and then I know it's going to reignite the like fire in me to read Eloise's story and then Francesca's story.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited for those as well.
I love that. I want to read the Bridgerton books. They just seem fun. So
They're fun, they're short, and they're not anything special, but they are like, it's fun to see a story that I love to like watch
yeah.
play out in a book as well. I love comparing the differences to like film and book. I just think that's a lot of fun. And so I cannot wait for I'm so happy I read the book before Poland season is coming out. It's going to be it's like a good setup in my brain.
Yeah, I love that. Maybe I'll add those to my summer reading list because that would be fun. But
do it.
This was fun. I love talking about books. I hope this is
Yes.
enjoyable for people listening.
I feel like I'm nerding out, so it's like slightly embarrassing. I'm letting my guard down.
I feel like the whole point of this podcast, though, is to talk about things that we love and are interested in. So that's all I really care about.
That's true. And you know what? We can say, and I mean, it's our podcast. We can talk about whatever we want to talk about.
Exactly. Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, thank you all for listening or watching. If you're watching on YouTube, come back every Monday. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Beezie's Podcast. And you can watch on YouTube as well at The Beezie's Podcast. So see you next week.
Perfect.
Bye. Bye.